video just in case I use this part. Let me explain what's going on. So I'm going out for sausage. I have driven down away from the town, the city. Over the other thing that you can actually see the lights going forward and back is actually the ferry that crosses the river. However, this road, so that road that you can see back here goes down to the ferry, and the ferry is still live. This road goes down to the ice where you can drive across if you choose to. It is that close. Now I've brought some wood with me because the wood store up here is actually running a little bit shy. Somebody's been here today because I can tell for the footprints, because there's been a lot of snowfall today, so somebody's been here literally this afternoon. But let's go for a wander. So here's little spots that you can get. Tons of these around Finland. As you can see here, we've got the Kazi, that's the toilet for anybody outside of Britain. Little bin store there, pick up your rubbish. Part of the reason of me bringing this, which is some wood to light a fire, but also the poly bag to clean up any rubbish if anybody's left some shit here, because it does happen. And then you can see here, we have a wood pile of freshly cut stuff, we have a little thing that is sort of dying. Doesn't have much wood left in here. Normally there's a fair bit. So this says the firewood is only for people on the boat trip sort of thing. So if you want to kayak around about this place. But in general, most people bring their own stuff as well. You do have, nobody's touched this since I was here the last time, because that's exactly where I left the saw. And oh, somebody has been here, because that's not where I left the axe, and I was here like 2 days ago. But yeah, so little sawhorse, you can cut some stuff. Lots of boat trips around this area, it's always lovely. And I'm not sure if you can sort of see it down here, but there's a little dock. I'll walk down to it just so you can sort of see. But first I'll drop off my bag and put the fire in place. So here's the little burn pit. Somebody's been nice enough to brush this off today, but then it got covered again. You can see dog prints and stuff like that. People come up here with the pets and stuff. There's a brush. Yeah. Little fire pit. Nice and simple. And someone has managed to break the bench. I don't know what the hell they've been doing, but that is usually not like that. It's very similar to these. And then usually there should be a little door here. I might actually build a new one for that at some point, because it's been broken for a couple of years now. But you'll get matches and things like that in these. Usually this one a little bit more abused, as you can see. That's freshly abused. But you've got the beach and the river down here, so let me just drop my bag off. My very old bag. And if we just come down here, there's a little lookout section. But in my opinion, although it is gorgeous scenery around here, it's lovely doing it at night, because it's just peaceful. So the people can tie up their boats down here on the dock. This is usually a fixed dock, so it floats, it bobs up and down, but obviously, as you can see, there ain't nothing. And this is the lake. So at the moment all nice and flat, and you can see the two ends of the ferry terminal just here. and it's lovely. I'm not exactly sure if I remember how deep this is. No, it's not that high. The snow's quite packed in, but you can see there, sort of concrete block. But nice and lovely. So this is Finland. This is literally me stood on the lake in the middle of winter, Jesusing it up. Gorgeous stars. Orion belt straight in front of us at the moment, and I'm not sure how well they poke up. There's sticks there that you can sort of see reflecting as I go along. If I crank up one of my lights, I might get a better reflection off of them. But those are the markers for the ice road that goes across there. So an interesting little bit of randomness. You can drive across most of the lakes. The ferry terminals for the islands don't usually work after somewhere between 9 and 11, depending on the ferry terminal. So in the winter it just means you've got permanent access. So ironically, when everything's frozen, you've got better transport links. Which is quite a funny situation. So, sausage time. So here's the simplest way to build a fire in Finland in the winter, and it comes down to this, birch. So you need some wood. Birch is a hardwood, but it's also known as a paper bark tree, and it's because of that. Its bark comes off so easily. So as you put your birch down, big chunks of it, nice and simple, you peel off the bark. Some of it will come off easier than others. Let me just put that to the side. Pull out the old blade that you can see has already been broken. Little bits and bobs, and try and leave a bit of the bark upwise, like so. Then I'm going to take two more bigger pieces, put them at the side like such. Then this piece specifically has lots of little bits of kindling. Now what you can do is place all this stuff in here, and then if you peel off a little bit more, like for instance we've got some here, that'll do quite nicely. Just snap, so you've got a bit of the wooden bark there and a bit of the paper as well. You can put that all together, and we've got another smaller piece here. And if you're wondering, this wood all came from my firewood at home, because I've got a couple of tons of stuff for the fire, so it's an easier way of doing it. And it's good to bring wood with you, because you should always be sort of replacing what you've taken. Now I'm going to set that a bit slanted. Then in here, the matches. Now I brought a big box of matches, specifically because the longer ones are a bit better, but also because I'm going to leave it here. However, it's easier to light with two matches, and the longer ones are always better. So what I'm actually going to do is double strike and then put it in the bottom. And because it's birch, I don't really need to see where I'm putting it, I just need it relatively close, and that's us gone. So the fire will pick up from this, nice and simple. And while it's actually burning up this way, I'm going to go over here and grab, oops, oh that's what I don't want to do. Don't let the trash get away. I'm going to go over and grab a bit of kindling if there's any scran stuff on the ground. So just a wee bit of bark in here. There we go. Some stuff that's turned to fibre. Little bits. Want it from underneath the snow. Little bits like that. There we go. And the place like this that I used to go to in Soulcover, I actually ended up topping up quite a lot of stuff because I would bring quite a bit of wood with me when I went to make a fire, but then I'd leave anything I hadn't used, leave the matches, and I ended up at one point, somebody had broken the axe, I ended up replacing the axe. So here we go, nice little fire going that quickly. And this is this. So I want this to burn down. You see a lot of the smoke kicking about. Let's move around, in fact while we're here. So this log that somebody's used to sit on hath been taken from here. So all I want to do is flip that over, put it back, take this one, same deal. Looks like they'd sliced a chunk off of it. Just pull it forward. There we go. A little bit further back. And it'll lock into place under this one. That's it. Something that seems to get lost these days. Leave it the way you fucking found it. There's somebody's left their shite. So yeah, if you're world weary, I've always found that a fire is quite a nice thing in general. Let me kill the lights. It's quite a peaceful thing in general. And obviously building it in the snow brings up a little bit of the heat in your body, gets your heart rate up. It sounds daft, you may not be able to see that well, but I'm quite a husky fella. And there's still something relaxing, especially if you're dealing with things like depression, anxiety, stuff like this. Getting the heart rate up can help. A little bit of exercise goes a long way. And I am somebody who absolutely and utterly fucking despises exercise. I hate doing it for the sake of exercise. I even hate doing it for the sake of fitness. I do it for a purpose, if I have to. Like, I've always had manual labour jobs. I've always had jobs that are fairly heavy, whether that's outdoor instruction, working on a farm, or working with heavy machinery and things like this. I don't understand machinery operators. You see an awful lot of machinery operators that are big chunky lads, and I don't particularly understand it because they're bigger than me, but as it happens they're also lighter than me. You can see by my arms they look kind of skinny. I've got what they call central core obesity, so I put on all the weight in the centre. Now, not much on my legs, nothing on the bottom of my legs, nothing on my arms. It sticks to the central stuff. But when you get stressed and things like this, getting out of the house, getting a bit of peace somewhere else, especially somewhere as beautiful as this, away from civilization, it is a good place. And for those of you that get lost, especially when if you're somebody like me, who when you're on your own, your thoughts try and fester on themselves. They go to the worst places, or they think the worst things, they pull up the worst scenarios, or they relive the worst things you've experienced. Or even not even the worst experiences, but some tragic ones or some embarrassing ones and get you stuck in those mental spaces. There's something weird about staring at a fire that seems to stop that for me. And I know a few people like this. It was something that was quite a chilled experience where I used to work. An outdoor education place that was, a lot of the staff had kind of gone wild. This was something we did an awful lot, and you can't underestimate how calming it is. That's something good for you. So what do we have on tonight's menu? I'll put on a little bit of light for this, because as a former Boy Scout I have to be prepared. I got 2 rolls that are pre-sliced and buttered, because Boy Scout. I have a can of First Choice Cola. This is a shop brand. I had never seen it before, but it was dirt fucking cheap. And I thought, well, always good to try something new. And part of that trying something new is because one of the, I think it used to be Virgin Cola that was actually the best one. And we have some chorizo sausages. These kind of hot dog style sausages, if you're somebody that's from Britain, I don't know how it is in America, but this is like the main type of sausage over here. Some of them are good flavours, some of them are like the worst sausages you've ever had. And then there's this. If you don't recognise one of these, you got a bottle opener one end, and you got a fork on the other end. And if you're wondering why it's like this, let's go for it. Let's do a little bit of traditional style. Now you can pull the grill over the top, as you can see. Most of these fireplaces do have a grill. Some that cover the whole thing, some that just cover a part. There's a big one up in Oulu. Not Oulu, up in Kuopio. Not far away from the tower, that actually has 2 fire pits and a whole load of stuff going on. It's fantastic. Let's just put this down on the ground. I'm going to lay that on the thing. And then as you see here, we've got the fork. We'll stab our sausage. We'll make a bit of space. Stab a second sausage. We'll clean our hand off in a bit of snow, because it's snow worries. And then this is heaven in Finland. Sat here cooking your sausage. Now what I also want to do with my now wet hand is try and open my stuff without being too violent. I've done this in the wrong order, I'm well aware of that now, but I want to open my roll without it hitting the floor. Now in Finland you would normally just have the sausage on its own, but because I'm Scottish / British, there is a little bit of ish in it. It's only when you come abroad that you see the British as opposed to the Scottish parts. Yeah, there's the fat coming out of the sausage. Cooking it in the flame. Now the advantage to a lot of these sausages here in Finland is that they are actually like pre-cooked. So technically, and I've seen some sickos do this, you can eat them straight from the packet without cooking them. But honestly, it's horrendous. I've tried it once. And the reason I say this is like a very Finnish thing is because one place when I was studying, when I was doing forestry machine studies, they had to provide lunch for us. And one particular day, they literally just chucked a packet of sausages per person. So they expected 4 sausages, about double the diameter of these, but the same length. That was our lunch. And it was just a case of go into the forest, snap a branch off, cut yourself a fork out of the wood, and cook your sausage. You're in the forest, so you've got plenty of wood. So that's it. There is actually a noise coming from over here. It's quite a loud scraping noise. Not sure if you can hear it on the camera. But that particular noise is the plough going past, because a lot of the ploughs here have steel bottoms on them. And they just scrape the ever-living shit out of the road. We're getting it ready for tomorrow, but today has been not a big snowfall. Finland is starting to go the way Britain did in the 90s, where the snow's getting less and less during the winter. When I first came here about a decade ago, well this time around, there was a hell of a lot more snow during the winter. And only a few years later, maybe 4 or 5 years later, there was a guy that I used to work with who had stayed on at the same place doing the snow work and the maintenance work, and he was on a 0 hours contract, and he ended up getting less than 4 days work the entire Christmas period because there had never been enough snow to call him in. Whereas for me, my first 2 years working at that same place, on a 0 hour contract, I was picking up sort of 60 hours a week. Second year's a little bit less, but it's kept going down and down. Alright, let's have a little inspection. Oh, nice and blackened away, I like it. A little bit of butter. Oi. And then for meat, I'll put my fork over here. Oh, nice and chorizo-y. Oh, that's awful. Excuse me. Well, we're back with it. Now, let me show you a little tip if you're out here. Say for instance, you're like me, you have come out at night. I'll kick on the lights for this part. And you want to put out your fire before you leave, because you need to put out your fire before you leave. If you noticed, I've cleared away all the stuff. I've got my own stuff to take back. I've put all the rubbish back in the bin that's over there. But when you've got one of these little grills kicking about, what you can do is go down to the deeper snow, dig in, grab a big chunk, and then bring this over. And we're just going to toss the snow on. Now what will happen is the snow will obviously put out the fire, cool down the wood and turn to steam all at the same time. But it will then melt away, drop through the bottom of the rock, so the fire will be out. Whew, made a sauna. But the fire will be out and it will be dry enough for somebody to use the next time, which will probably be tomorrow morning. So they'll be able to calm this down. Now already you can see that it's going. Because of the heat that's actually contained in the rocks around about this, it will keep melting the snow until there's no liquid there. So that's the easiest way to put out the snow, put out the fire with the snow here in Finland, so that we can walk away and leave it safely. I'm just going to leave it for a couple of minutes before I leave to let the steam settle down. But I'm going to try and get my rucksack on in the meantime and get ready for moving. Remember your big heavy gloves. First job that I ever got, I got these Tegera gloves. I think they're a Swedish brand. I was actually given a set of mittens. First ever set of mittens since I was a wee babby, before I could remember. But they were the warmest gloves I've ever had, to the point where I had to take them off when I was working in the snow at -20 because my hands were getting too warm, they were sweating. So now I've just got a new set of these and they are just as warm. They are fantastic. We are currently at -20 here and it's going quite nicely. So there we go. Fire's out, it's mostly steam that's coming off this now. That should be okay now. So onwards. We are heading back to the car. Get the gloves on. It is just nice to get out a little while, away from everything. And especially when you do it in the evening, a little bit more peaceful. Although I have to say, wearing a camera on my head, I don't have a proper mount at the moment. I'm using a baseball cap mount for the camera, and I've got two separate head torches, which are kind of heavy duty caving ones, to make sure I got the light at either side. And it is not exactly the lightest thing to have on your noggin, so it is a bit interesting. That noise you can hear in the distance is the front gate of the ferry latching onto the ferry terminal. There's the car. Not my car. It is my mother-in-law's car. Oh, I fucking hate this thing. But it does the job. Toyota make amazing cars. Aside from this one, the Mark II Corolla. It's a heap of shit in the most vilest ways. It's just uncomfortable. The entire thing comes down to the ABS is not as fast and reacting as it should be. Don't know why. And the accelerator has been made for a tiny Japanese person. I don't know why it is so low down, but it makes your angle very uncomfortable when you're using it. So, look at Bumblebee from back in the day. Half of this dirt that's still on here, I don't wash it off because it's from when I used to go caving decades ago. Right, on with it.